presentation. I won't look at those until the end of the presentation. The handout is out on the PC Club website in the meetings, past meetings section. So if you want to print it out or look at it, you can download it or look at it right now. Okay, the agenda, first we'll cover some club status and then we'll get to our main topic. Future meetings, the MACSIG has a meeting coming up this Friday, June 20th, and they're setting their agenda, and I believe they should have the Apple Developers Conference along with iOS 26. They've gone away from naming their versions 18, 17, 18, 18.5, that kind of thing, to the year. So that's kind of a little change there. Microsoft also tried that, and there's always a little confusion over version numbers for operating systems. The next question and answer is July 1st, and we do that online. If you do have any questions, if there aren't questions, we talk about current topics or whatever anyone wants. Our next presentation will be Wednesday, July 16th, and that'll be a web only, and we'll talk about the best software for your PC, desktop, or laptop. And we'll talk about software that I use and what's the top downloads. Also, kind of a save the date here for July 28th. We have our end of the summer. I know we haven't, or I guess maybe later today, we officially start summer. Well, this is our summer celebration. Will be July 28th at the Green Mill. Invitations will be going out shortly as soon as we finalize a few things. But save the date, July 28th, and I believe we usually start that about 5 o'clock or something like that. I'm not positive there. Officers, Jim is our president, Linda is our vice president, Paul is our membership secretary, Paula is our treasurer. Now, Paula just retired. We are looking for a replacement for Paula, and the replacement does have to be a current 3M employee. So if you're interested at all, please contact the club. Minimal time commitment because there's not a lot of work to be done there other than attend the monthly meetings and report on the status of our treasury. Chuck is our recording secretary, Mike is our MACSIG, Andrew is our communication coordinator. My name's Tom Kreuzer, I'm a director at large. Members old and new, you can pay your dues to Paul Ebert. Just a reminder, if you're changing your emails, make sure to notify us so that we can keep in touch, because this is how we send out notices. If you do have suggestions for topics, you can email your ideas for topics or talk to any of the board members. We're always looking for people to volunteer to present on hardware or software that you may use at work or at home, or to write a short article or a long article for our eBytes newsletter. Out on our website, we do have past meeting recordings and handouts. So if you ever miss one or want to revisit, you can go out there. We also have our deals section, eBytes newsletter, and the link is listed there, but it's also sent in almost all the emails there. Okay, let's get to our main topic today, which is buying a computer by myself, Tom Kreuzer, and I show a wide variety of computers because all of these are very, very smart computers, including your smartphone, your tablet, laptop, desktop. We'll talk about some of the pros and cons of each of these devices, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper into the laptops and the desktops, and then we'll go out to some of the websites and I'll show you a few things out there. The past 50 years, computers have evolved from a bulky desktop to devices that are integrated into our daily lives. So 50 years ago, when you said you were going to buy a computer, it was a desktop. You had very few portable computers. Certainly they weren't called laptops because they wouldn't fit on your lap. But over the years, they've evolved. The CPUs have gotten faster and smaller, and the memory has gotten better, and these devices have just been integrated into our lives. Today, we're surrounded by many choices. That includes phones, tablets, laptops, desktops, hybrids, even smart devices embedded in our everyday objects that we use. With so many options, selecting the right one can feel as complex as picking the perfect motor vehicle. And I just show a few examples of motor vehicle. There isn't one vehicle that works for everybody. There isn't one computer that just works for everybody. Frequently, we use a variety of computers. Most of us have smartphones. Most of us have tablets. Most of us have a desktop or a laptop. And you use the appropriate device when you're trying to do different things. Just like you wouldn't use a subcompact car to haul a refrigerator in. You'd use a truck to haul a refrigerator. And that's the way this is. Or you wouldn't go on vacation in a mini home or a caravan. You'd go in a Winnebago. So there's all these different models of computers, all these different sizes, all these different capabilities to fit what our different needs are. What works for one person or purpose may not suit another. And frequently, like I say, we have multiple devices. Most everybody has multiple devices. The key to making the best decision starts with defining your specific needs and budget. So that's the only way you can make a determination of what to buy and what you need. Are you looking for a machine for work, for gaming, content creation, or just everyday browsing? Vast differences in the types of machines used for just those simple little things. And we'll talk more about how to refine your needs, and we'll go through what each of these devices is good for, and maybe what that particular device is not as good for. Once you have a clear use in mind, consider essential factors such as the size, the operating system, the processor speed, RAM capacity, storage space, and graphic performance. Each component plays a role in ensuring your device meets your demands effectively. Ultimately, the best computer is the one that fits your lifestyle and enhances your productivity without breaking the bank. No sense spending more than what you have to. Approach your choice thoughtfully, and you'll find the perfect digital companion for your needs. This is from the PC Club survey, and these are some interesting statistics on smartphones. I started asking the question in 2014 about smartphones, and at that time, 61% of the members owned a smartphone. And there's a graph down here. We can see the blue here, 61%. And today in 2025, 98% do. Not sure why that isn't 100, but somebody must not have a smartphone. But you can see our needs have changed over the years and costs have come down. We can now have a very powerful computer with us 7 by 24 everywhere we go. Same is true of tablets. Surprisingly, we started at about the same percentage in 2014 as 60% of the people having tablets. Today, that number is sitting at 81%. I believe this number should be 100% because you can get tablets starting at less than $30. I use my tablet more than my desktop or laptop at home. I'm not ready to give up my desktop or laptop, but a tablet can do most of the things that I want to do. I use my tablet in my kitchen, in my garage, in my bathroom, to watch streaming, to do other things, bedroom, when I'm outside on the deck. I use it everywhere. I talk to a lot of seniors and do this presentation over there. And many of the seniors, including my dad, who's 98 years old, gets by with just a tablet. Uh, and so the tablets are very, very useful, and I highly recommend people have them. Okay, some other trends from the survey. Ask a question on there. What percent of time do you spend on your tablet? What percent of time do you spend on your smartphone? And what percent of time do you spend on your desktop or laptop? These are for the current year, and we can see here that of the total time that we spend computing or doing things on our device, 31% of the time we spend on a smartphone, 17% on a tablet, and 52% on the computer. When I first started asking the questions in 2014, that number uh, was 81% of the time when we wanted to use a computer, we spent on our laptop or desktop. So this number continues to go down every year. And like I say, we've got, I think, one or two people that don't even have a laptop or a desktop. They get by with their smartphone and tablet, just that. Tablets and smartphone both are being used more and more because they get more and more powerful, and you can do a lot more with them. Okay, next let's talk about these different devices. And what we'll first do is we'll go through some of the pros of the different device and the cons of the different device. And we'll start out with the smallest, the pros of the phone. Well, it's obviously very portable, fits in your pocket or purse, great for content consumption, what we call consumption. You're consuming the internet, you're consuming information, your email, different things like that. Great for browsing the web, email, watching movies, playing music, and playing games. There's millions of apps to do practically everything. Well, what's the cons? If this was all a bed of roses, we'd never need another device. But the display is small. It's kind of hard to read. Content creation is harder. There's no keyboard, no mouse, very small display. Another one is usual life is 3 to 5 years. So this is the shortest of any of the devices that we talk about. And that's due to the battery, the operating system, and just plain getting out of date. Okay, tablets. Tablets, some of the pros are it's portable and lightweight. It's great, again, for content consumption because if you're browsing the web, email, watching movies, and playing music and playing games, it's great for that. You have a bigger display than the phone. It's typically 7 inches to 10 inches. You still have that millions of apps. And I mentioned here the touch screen is easier to use than a laptop, usually when you're doing content consumption. And that's also true for seniors. It might be easier than typing on that. Some of the cons of the tablet, well, the display, even though it's bigger than a phone, it's smaller than the typical laptop or desktop. Content creation is harder. Again, no keyboard, no mouse, small display. Although with these, sometimes I'll recommend people add an external keyboard or a mouse. That can make them easier to do content creation. They do have storage limits, but in this case, using cloud storage can get rid of that as a con. They have limited hardware ports than a laptop or another device. Okay, next let's talk about a Chromebook. Chromebooks run the Chromium operating system. Nice thing about Chromebooks is they're cheaper than Windows or Mac. They're low cost. Usually they're $200 to $600. Low hardware requirement, so they don't require a big CPU or memory. They have a bigger display than a tablet. The OS itself has an end of life of 10 years. So from the time they started making the model until the manufacturer no longer updates it is a 10-year period. Cons of a Chromebook, well, there's limited software because basically it's running a browser and just a few very limited apps. It's not running software that's written for the Mac. It's not running software that's written for Windows. But because it can connect to the internet, certainly there's millions of websites and most things can be done through a browser. Another con is limited connection. Our internet connection is required for most functions. So if you don't have a connection through Wi-Fi or through a cell data plan, you have limited capability. You have limited storage, but again, like the tablet, you can use cloud storage, and you have limited hardware ports, like a phone or a tablet typically. Okay, pros of a laptop. So a laptop, mobility is the big pro there. Can be used room to room, outside. You can take to work, classes, library, travel, etc. Bigger display than the tablet, usually 12 to 17 inches. Full-size keyboard, or some of them are a little smaller keyboard, but still you have a keyboard there. You have a webcam mic built in. They require less space to set up and use than a desktop. They're great for content creation. They outsell desktops 4 to 1. So less and less people are buying desktops, big bulky desktops, because they just don't need them anymore. Uh, if you do need more ports, you can add a docking station or a bigger display that way. Some of the cons of the laptop: higher cost to buy or upgrade than a desktop. Slightly, not a great deal. It used to be 2 to 3 times more costly for a laptop. Now it's not that much more for a laptop than a comparable desktop there. They do tend to have slower CPUs, and that's because the laptops want to extend the battery life, so they slow down the CPUs or use CPUs that don't consume as much power and therefore are slower. You have limited resolution on the laptop, limited internal capability in terms of drives, memory, graphics, etc. They're more fragile than a desktop or that, and more costly to repair. Limited hardware ports than a desktop, and you may need a docking station. Also, because they're kind of crammed together there, you can get overheating with the compact design and limited cooling. Okay, let's talk about the last device, which is the desktop. Pros of the desktop: performance. If you want the best performance possible, then you're usually restricted to a laptop there. I mean, you're restricted to a desktop. Laptops conserve battery and the CPU and their size, so therefore performance is, usually limited. It's the best value and the lower total cost of ownership. You typically have much bigger displays than a 17-inch laptop, or you may even be using multiple displays, 2, 3 displays there. You have the user interface is better than any of the other devices, more hardware ports and expansion. Comes in many different flavors. So I show some pictures here. This first picture is an example of a tower. They make slim towers, which are maybe about half the size, but still a little bit bulkier. They also make all-in-one, where the computer is built into the monitor here, and you don't even have an external tower or anything there. Or you have even this extreme case over here. This is what's known as a mini. Fits in basically the palm of your hand. And I'll show an example of a mini a little later on that you have. The other one, gaming, I don't show an example, but they're the most elaborate. They may have lights in them, and they're made They can be very expensive and they have high capabilities there. Some of the cons of the desktop: lack of mobility. They take more physical space. Cost, because when you're buying a unit, you're usually just buying the unit. The display is going to cost you separate. If you want speakers, you have to buy separate speakers. If you want a webcam, you have to buy a separate webcam and a mic there. No power backup, like I mentioned here, no power backup. So if you do live in an area where the power goes out occasionally, you've probably cursed at your desktop because whatever you were working on, chances are you lost some of your edits and what you were doing. Whereas all the other devices, because they have a battery, if the power flickers or goes out, you don't lose anything. Okay, so those are the pros and cons of all these different devices. And like I say, we usually need multiple of these devices to solve our complete needs. Uh, what devices do you really need? Well, use this handout as a guide to capture your needs. Start by deciding on your primary use. So what are you going to use this laptop or this desktop for? What's your preferred operating system? Is it Windows? Is it Mac? Is it Chrome? And what's your budget? That'll help you make your decision. Research different devices and their features to ensure it meets your needs. Finally, consider where to purchase, whether it's a retail store or online, and compare prices before making a final decision. These are generally some ranges of a laptop or a desktop, some basic groupings there. You can get a number of devices for under $400. With that, you usually have basic processor, which means a low-end processor, 4 to 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 to 256 gigabytes of storage, and an integrated display graphics. That means it's built into the board or built into the CPU chip. These machines tend to be great for web browsing, email, light Office, Office being Word, Excel, PowerPoint type functions, light photo editing, video calls, they're good at that, light media streaming, watching stuff, and social media. So they're good at that. $400 to $800 for a new device gives you a mid-range processor, 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, 256 to 512 of storage, and a 1K display, so a higher resolution display. That's good for, in addition to everything that the low end is good for, it's good for office work, multimedia, casual gaming, and light editing. Now we move up into the $800 to $1,200. You get a faster processor, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 to 1 terabyte of a SSD or a solid state drive, and the display resolution is now usually approaching 2K to 4K. Good for video editing, audio editing, moderate gaming, and multitasking. 1200 to 2000, high-end processor, 16 to 32 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD, and a 4K display. This is if you want to do AI locally on your computer, this is the type that you have to start with there. If you're trying to do professional work, this is the machine also. If you're into advanced gaming or heavy multitasking, you love to have 6 or 7 tabs open at the same time, go back and forth between things. Maybe you have 2 monitors, so you're heavy usage there. $2,000 and up, you get a top tier processor, 32 gigabytes or more of RAM, 1 terabyte or more of an SSD, and then you have a high-end. GPU stands for graphic processing unit. So in addition to a CPU, you've got a GPU, a high-end, and an NPU, neural processing unit. This is what is useful for artificial intelligence and 3D rendering and VR and things like that. And you'd usually have the higher resolution, the 4K or above. Good for 3D rendering, VR development, intense software use, or people not constrained by cost. So if money is no object, certainly buy the biggest, the best out there. Okay, what are some other things to consider? An old device using an operating system that's not being updated should be replaced. So don't plan on keeping the laptops or the desktops or any of these devices forever. They do have to be replaced. It's vulnerable to security bugs and unable to update other apps and software that you may use. An example is Microsoft Windows. We've talked that coming in October of this year, Windows 10 is no longer supported. So you should be using Windows 11, or by that time, Windows 12 will be out. So you should be using Windows 11 or 12. And if you've got a machine that doesn't support Windows 11 or 12, which a lot of us do, you better plan on buying a new computer ASAP. Macs currently support, or Apple supports version 13, 14, and 15. If you have an iOS, an iPad, or iPhone, it supports version 17 and 18. Android, the versions that are supported are 13, 14, and 15. And you should plan to replace your devices every 3 to 5 years, period. Okay, another thing to consider is how much time do you plan to use the device? So if you're a person who just occasionally gets on the computer or a laptop, that's different than somebody who is spending 40 hours a week on a laptop. The more time you spend, the faster you want that machine and the more capabilities you want built into that machine. Your disk space needs depend on the number of digital pictures, movies, MP3s, your AI needs, your software that you want to run. All those things contribute to that, along with how much or where is your data going to be? Is it going to be locally or is it going to be up in the cloud? And we talked about it before. We recommend putting as much as you can up in the cloud because it's backed up and available on all your devices instead of just a single device. These are some examples here. 60 minutes of MP3s takes 60 megabytes. Well, that's not that much. 60 minutes of 1K video takes 6 gigabytes. And if you have 8K video, which a number of the phones are capable of doing today, that can be anywhere from 30 gigabytes to 200 gigabytes. So if you plan on doing some of this, you better plan on large amounts of space. Most of the devices now use solid state drives, so they don't have the old hard drive, the HDD. A good SSD, again, there's all different costs and features of these SSDs, can be up to 100 times faster. If you're buying cheaper equipment, you may see something in the range of 2 to 10 times faster than a HDD. And I mentioned here, use cloud storage to free up space on your local devices. In laptops, a bigger screen comes at the expense of portability, your battery life, and the price. So yeah, there's a number of laptops where you can get up to a 17-inch screen, but all of a sudden it's harder to, it's not as portable as a smaller screen, and usually the 15-inch is a better balance there. Consumer Reports found that computer reliability does not vary much from vendor to vendor. Roughly 1 in 5 computers, whether it's a desktop or a laptop, will need repairs within the first 5 years. Because most repairs cost less than the extended warranty plan, you should never purchase a service plan. So whether it's Best Buy or Apple or whoever is trying to get you into an extended service plan, it's a moneymaker for them. I mentioned here, if you can, try the ergonomics of the laptop or the desktop in a store before you buy. Keyboards are different sizes. Even though it's a keyboard, there's some of them are compressed keyboards, some of them move some of the scrolling keys around, and if you're going from computer to computer, having keyboards that are laid out similarly is going to make your life easier. Also, you have things like touchscreen, display resolution, camera resolution. Some of the cameras on these devices start at 720K, then they go 1K. But if you want higher quality and you've got a faster connection, having a better camera is going to give you that capability up to 4K, even 8K. Sound quality and mic. If you plan to use a laptop or a tablet outside, be sure to see how clear the screen looks in the sunshine. Sunshine it's hard to see almost any screen in the sunshine, except something like a Kindle reader that's actually an LCD screen. But take a look and see how bright it is, because you may find that some of the cheaper models especially are not going to look good in the sunshine. They look great inside, but don't look good outside. Where to buy? There's retail and online stores. Best Buy, Walmart, Sam's, Target, Amazon, Newegg provide a wider selection, and you can compare the prices there. Consider refurbished options, as they are often tested and repaired by the manufacturer and can be up to 50% less. Windows 11 first came out in October 2021, so there's plenty of refurbished devices that are available. AI computers are now a thing that if you're interested in running that AI locally on your machine, Apple, for their Apple Intelligence, requires that you have the M4 chip. So that's a relatively new computer you'd have to have, a high-end computer there. Windows, Microsoft also has options for AI locally, and any of the vendors that have a computer for Windows AI doing it locally are branded Copilot Plus PCs. So see where you see the phrase Copilot Plus PC, that means the PC has a faster CPU, a faster GPU, and a neural processing unit. Also consider what software do you need. Is it apps that you need? Is it websites? Is it local software? That'll help determine what operating system do you require, or can you just get away with a basic browser connecting to websites? How many ports do you need? And what type of port? USB, the older style USB, type A, actually come in two versions, 2.0 and 3.0. Vast difference in speed and capability. And some of the laptops have USB version 3 connections. Some of them have a limited number of 3s, and then the rest are version 2. So depending on what you're doing, you want to be aware of that. Also, you have USB-C, which is the smaller connection, available. Then it's a case of HDMI. What type of HDMI? Do you need an Ethernet connection? Wi-Fi versions. You'll see different Wi-Fi versions. Even in all the current ones that are out there, they all don't support the most current versions. FireWire, if you're going to be connecting to other devices, FireWire may be your best option there. Also, media card slots, if you do need them, although again, you can buy a device that I have that plugs into a USB port and lets me read and write to SD cards. And do you need a DVD, CD? Less and less use of that. Multi-display and what resolution? So do you need multi-display? And I mentioned earlier, is it 720K, 1K, 4K, or 8K resolution do you need? I don't recommend buying a computer with Windows 11S. So there are low-end computers out there that are marketed with this. It can only run Windows apps and can't run standard Windows software. So if you, excuse me, if you are going to be buying a low-end machine, instead of buying a Windows S, consider buying a Chromebook if you want a cheap low-end laptop. Consider your usage and match the battery life of portable devices. The more you pay, the better the battery life or the bigger the battery that's in there. Security, you have facial recognition, fingerprint, gesture, and PIN. Not all devices support this, so if that's important to you, make sure and check it out. I mentioned here tariff impact. Again, we don't know whether that's going to force prices up higher or if they'll be lower. We'll just have to see what happens with some of this. So do you buy now or do you wait? I don't have the crystal ball. This I mention because I do see it a lot and I get questions from people, and I tell them, set a time limit to make a shopping decision. There's no perfect right or wrong decision, and you don't want to be caught in what we call analysis paralysis, where the person doesn't make a decision, just keeps looking for more and more information and isn't making a decision. Make a decision, go with it, and then don't regret your decision. AI can actually help you. So right now on your computer, you can ask AI to help you. If you like buying stuff on Amazon, you can go to the Amazon site, look for the orange and blue Rufus, and you can ask Rufus questions and tell him what your requirements are, and Rufus will help you. Google Shopping also has built-in AI there, or you can use ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. You can type in your needs and have a discussion there. Okay, next we'll take a look at where people buy. So this is from the PC Club survey. This is where people bought and bought any electronic equipment. Best Buy was number one. 70% of the people responding bought at Best Buy. Amazon, Target, Costco, Walmart, Office Max, etc. So you see a lot of people buying at these different places. Let's do a little demo. I'm going to go out to the Target website, and most of the websites operate this way. I can go in here and I can say laptop. I can search for laptop computer. And the nice thing that you have in most of these sites is you can then, excuse me, I got a little tickle in the throat. You can do filtering. So you can start filtering on some of the things that I tend to filter on is the operating system. So I go in here. I know I don't want a Chromebook. I don't want a Windows 10. I want a Windows 11 Home or a Windows 11 Pro, and I don't want a Windows 11S. So I can apply that. I know in my particular need there, what I like is I like a good deal of RAM. So I want at least 16 gigabytes or 20 or above. So I can get that. I mentioned I'm thrifty, I'm not cheap, so I do like deals. Why not take a deal? I'm going to see what they have for deals. Let's click on the deals here. And I could further limit it down by going in by processor type and, excuse me, price, brand, some other things. But I'm going to go in here and let's sort this by lowest to highest. And let's take a look. So this is within the Target website. Excuse me. These are the laptop computers that they have, and you can see they're starting at $279 here. Now these are laptops, and this is true of Walmart and Best Buy and excuse me, again, that tickle is getting me here. The websites will have more than what they have in the store. So frequently they have affiliates or other companies or trading partners that are also selling stuff on their site. So that's why there's a number of laptops. If you went into Target and said, show me all the ones that are on sale, you aren't going to see 130 of them in their store. They're only available to be shipped there. But let's go through here, and you can see, excuse me, like I mentioned, there's a number of different machines. And actually, I'm going to go to one yeah, I believe this is the one here. So this is, well, that's an HP. Let me go here. I think the one that I was looking at was, well, Acer, where is it? Maybe it was well, let's just pull up this HP for $304. Now, this is a manufacturer refurbished machine. Again, I talked about you can save yourself probably half price or less than half price for the refurbished machine there. These are typically refurbished by the vendor. So this is refurbished by HP. And if it's not done by the vendor, there's what do they call them? Verified refurbishers that the manufacturer has appointed. But this is where you can get an excellent deal, about half price there. This is a nice machine here. This is a 13.3. Well, let's go down here. I'm going to go down here and I can get the full specifications for this device. So I like to look at the specifications, the number of ports that it has, what it has, excuse me, the screen resolution. This has an old Wi-Fi 5. Actually, Wi-Fi 7 is just coming out now. So it's a little bit old there. Comes with Windows 11 Pro. Has an Intel i5, which is a low-end processor. It's not it's a basic processor. Then usually it'll tell the number of cores that it has. This has 4 CPUs or cores. Some of the higher end machines may have 16 or 32 cores. That's what makes them fast. But you pay for that. So this is just an example here of what it has. Let's go back here. So starting at $300, you can get a Windows 11 machine. Also, if we look in here, let's go to towards the end here. We're going to see some of the higher. Excuse me. There's 6 pages here. We can go through some of them. So you start getting up into the 600 to 800, those different categories. You're going to see faster CPUs, better displays, just a little more solid, and you can spend up to $3,000. Let's go here. I put an Asus. I believe this was an Asus model that. Let's see if it pulls it, or an Acer model here. So rather than that HP, this is the one that I was looking at before. Acer Inspire 3, 15.6-inch touchscreen display, 5 Ryzen 5 CPU, 16 gigabytes of RAM, 1 terabyte of solid-state drive, manufacturer refurbished there. So again, there's bargains to be had out here. This is actually the machine that I'm probably going to get. to replace the machine that I'm currently giving my presentation on today. The machine that I am giving the presentation on today is an HP laptop that I purchased for about $299 about 9 years ago, just after I retired from 3M. So I'll probably get this to replace it because my HP laptop can't be upgraded to Windows 11 and I want a Windows 11 machine. Well, again, here's a beautiful machine for $309. And actually, I think last week or the week before when I looked, it was $299. So it's gone up a little bit, but there's deals to be had out there. So let's go back here. I mentioned in the desktops the Mini. Let's take a look at a little Mini here. This is out on Amazon. This is a little Mini, basically fits in the palm of your hand. This little device here is an entire computer there. This is a 4th generation. Comes with 16 gigabytes of RAM, 500 gigabyte SSD. It supports dual HDMI 4K, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, and all in the palm of your hand there. And all for $149. So there's an example when people say, well, it's too expensive to upgrade, or I don't want to upgrade, or things like that. I go, if you've got a couple $100, you can get this. This is probably 10 times faster or 20 times faster than what they're replacing their old computer that they currently have. And again, if you've had that for 10 years or that, certainly you can spend a couple $100 and get a nice machine there. Okay, that concludes. We'll take questions. Let me unshare here and I'll see if people put anything out in the chat. Let me see here. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to turn on my camera and we'll look in the chat here. Okay, let me get here. It looks like the first question, Jim, do you have any further comments on docking stations for home use? Again, the docking station, it gets back to what are your requirements? You can buy some devices that'll give you more ports. So there's for as cheap as like $20, or you can spend $400, $500 on a high-end docking station. So there isn't one category of docking station. Each has its own built-in capabilities, including the number of ports or additional. Maybe it has an Ethernet and your laptop didn't have an Ethernet, or it has two 4K monitors and your laptop didn't support two 4K monitors. So it varies there. If you're just needing several more USB ports, there are low-cost solutions to that. Or like I say, starting at like $20, you can get the plug-in or dock and give you the additional powered ports and additional capabilities. Okay, Tom H. Okay, I've got a new machine. How do I securely get rid of the old one? Good question. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways. I believe out on the website we do mention some ways there, but you can take it to a service place like Best Buy, and there you can be assured that they'll destroy it. Now, some people don't even trust them. So what they'll do, if you truly want to destroy something, you may have seen people that'll take a drill and drill through their laptop or through the hard disk drive to completely destroy the hard disk drive. Because if you do a standard reset of most computers there, it's possible for a hacker to get some data off of your computer. It's highly unlikely, but there is always a possibility there. Um, so it's a matter of how secure do you want to be. Myself, I hate throwing things away if they continue to work. Uh, so I have old computers. What I've done with some of the old computers, if you're into kind of the hobby aspect, you can load a Linux operating system on it. And actually, I've given some laptops and some desktops to some senior citizens that all they needed was a browser, and the Linux operating system is like a Chrome operating system, works great for what they need, and so there's ways to do that. Uh, but again, if you're to the extreme part that you want to delete everything, also, there are software packages, free software packages that will, on a hard drive, they'll go out and write an area on the hard drive upwards of like 20, 30, 40 times. They'll write over that. And if you write over it that many times, it makes it impossible to recover, or nobody's going to spend time to try and recover it. So there are ways of doing things. It's just a question of how secure you want to be. Okay, Mitch asks, what's the AMD Ryzen chip? Used to be in the old days when you were looking for a computer, you had basically one provider, Intel. Intel would come out with its new versions. Then a competitor came out, AMD. AMD was the major competitor, and since then you even have Snapdragon is also from AMD, and there's various lines of CPUs that have come out from these other vendors there. Uh, they all have different generations. So like I mentioned, if you look at the specs, you have to look at what's the speed of the CPU, what's the generation of the CPU, and what's the number of cores that you have. And some of them will have virtual cores, which means that they don't have physical cores on the machine to have independent processing being done at the same time. They'll virtually create things. Well, that's slower than something that has uh, uh, physical cores out there. So the fastest machines, the fastest for gaming, the fastest for AI, all of that requires, if you want the fastest, requires very, very expensive CPUs. And usually it's a combination of CPU, GPU, and the GPU being G for graphics, and the NPU for neural processing, for where a lot of AI stuff is done or will be done there. Now, does the average person need any of that, or will they see any difference? No. So when you go out to your website and you go out to Facebook and you're looking on Facebook, what's the constraint? The constraint usually is your internet connection. It's not even your PC. So if I take a $100, that $149 PC, and compare the speed of loading the page in Facebook and scrolling through Facebook, you'd see no difference at all between a $149 computer and a $3,000 computer. Where you will see differences in speed is, I mentioned that I'm currently reporting, or I'm recording this session. When I record it, I do a little bit of editing, and then I save it. And if you're familiar with video, saving is called rendering it. You render it into a format. So it has to compress it, it has to put it into a format that's readable by some of these other systems. That's dealing with gigabytes of information. On my uh, on my old computer and that, it would take upwards of an hour to render that. On my newer desktop, it takes 2 minutes to render it. And if I had a very fast one, if I paid even more, I could get it down to 10 seconds or 20 seconds to render it. So again, depending on what you're doing, if your needs are such that you do need that kind of speed, great, spend money and you'll see a benefit. If you don't, if all you're going to do is read your email, go out to your bank and look at balances, go out to Facebook, watch a YouTube video, the cheapest machine is going to perform as good as the most expensive machine there. Okay. Okay, John asks, Karen and I have laptops and smartphones. I use my laptop more. Ken uses his smartphone more. I like the keyboard and bigger display. Ken likes the smartphone portability. Smartphone is great for photo taking. Photos we take are stored in the cloud. Yeah, so as I mentioned, because we have all these choices with devices, uh, use the different devices, and because the prices of these different devices is so inexpensive, find the right one to do the right duty there, and you can have computing available at your fingertips from anywhere, and you won't be breaking the bank in terms of costs or that. I'll open it up if anyone wants to ask a question or comment.
Say, Tom, this is John Staffko. As far as a lot of these devices that we have, we can cast audio or video to our smart TVs, so or to a speaker or to headphones when we're listening to music. So we find that the smartphones are really very versatile for us. We have high-end smartphones that take great pictures, and when we cast them to the large screen TV, they look great. And we both have sets of earphones. We listen to music that way. So uh, I think we like both of these things. So we probably have more technology than we really need, but we have it.
No, and you're right. You know, it's these devices are changing every year. There's newer and better and stuff like that coming out. Uh, you really can look. The reason I showed those low cost options for the laptop and the desktop is because uh, people have this misconception that they're going to be spending thousands of dollars. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars. You can spend thousands of dollars, but you don't have to. And I would do the same thing. So this is the phone that I have. This is going on, oh, how old is this? 4 years or that. It's a stylus. It's a Motorola stylus. Um, I paid $299 for it. It shoots 4K video. It has 3 cameras in it. I'd match it up against an iPhone 16. Most people using an iPhone 16, I'll outperform them with this device. So you don't have to spend $1,000. You don't have to spend $2,000. You can get items out there, whether it's phones or tablets or whatever. Uh, the tablet that I use, and I talked about it before, is this is my tablet. Surprise, surprise, this is an Apple iPad. This is the low-end Apple iPad. You can get them for on sale for less than $300. Display is great, battery life is great, storage is great. Now, I mentioned that you can get an Android tablet starting at about $30. Well, if you don't use it that much, maybe a $30 tablet is going to meet your needs. The way I use my tablet, I want a good display. I want this. So actually, I'm putting as much money into this device as I put into my phone. because I end up using this more than I do even my phone. And that's what I guess I wanted to show somewhat was a combination of all these devices is what each of us has to decide how we use it, what we're doing. And when you're doing simple things, you don't need complex devices or have to spend a great deal of money. When you want to do very complex things, then you should look to spending more for CPUs or GPUs or things like that. Okay, and even something like artificial intelligence, the fact that currently my desktops, and if I buy that laptop, that's not a Copilot Plus, but I'm not planning on uh, the way that I plan to use AI and currently using AI. I don't need a Copilot Plus PC. I can ask all the questions, I can generate all the documents, I can generate the images. I don't have to do it locally on my computer. In fact, I'd prefer to have it done up on the cloud. Now, up on the cloud, there are certainly some security and that, but the stuff that I'm not doing work for 3M. So you know, I'm a different user than if I was working for 3M and doing stuff. Questions, comments? And the prices, like I say, with tariffs, is now the time to buy, or is 6 months going to be better, or is it going to be worse? Hard to say. If we didn't have the tariffs in place, it still was going to be an unsure market because uh, you have that October 2025 date that's looming on the horizon. So there are going to be in the United States millions of computers being replaced between now and October there, especially schools or any large organization that has it is not going to want to pay the fee to keep those up to date. So it should be cheaper for them to buy a new computer for $300 than pay $300 to get support for that computer from Microsoft. That's a very foolish decision if you've got uh, organizations making that decision. It's a no-brainer there. But because there's going to be so many places replacing, the vendors have been gearing up for this for years. They've been gearing up for this date coming along. Uh, and what that's going to mean in terms of availability. Are there going to be shortages? Well, if the tariffs continue and if Best Buy decides not to stop importing some things, there's going to be some shortages on certain makes and models or things like that. So if you see a computer that meets your needs and fits your budget, go for it. Go for it now. Like I say, the one that I was looking at, 299. Well, now it's gone up to $309. I think I can afford another $10, but that's a heck of a computer. It's not the fastest computer in the world, but again, for the things that I need it for doing presentations like this, I record video, I do a number of things there. It's going to meet my needs there very, very well at a nice price point. Now, if I wasn't buying a refurbished, I'd have to spend about double or almost triple that to get the same horsepower and the same capabilities. So if I bought a $300 new laptop from HP or that's a very, very low end device. Personally, I wouldn't be happy with that low end device. I'd want something a little bit faster. and I'm willing to pay a little bit more. But in this case, I really don't have to pay more. I just have to switch my preference from a brand new computer to a refurbished computer. And the refurbished, again, these are factory refurbished, whether it's Asus or HP or that, or Apple. Apple also, if you're not familiar, you can buy refurbished iPads and Macs and things like that too. Apple doesn't give you a 50% discount on stuff. In fact, I looked into getting an iPad, a refurbished iPad. Was cheaper for me to buy a brand new iPad than it was a refurbished iPad. So Apple, just because Apple's selling something and calls it refurbished doesn't mean it's a good price.
Say, Tom, this is John again.
Sure.
I have an old computer which is not capable of being upgraded to Windows 11. I think at one time you mentioned that if you have an old computer, you just want to use sometimes to install another operating system like Linux. Is that a difficult process, or I don't know how to do it?
Yeah, Linux is an alternative operating system. It's a free operating system. There's hundreds of variations of Linux, but if you do a little search and you can find the most popular, or you can find them that look almost exactly like Windows in terms of how they operate, how the screens work, and things like that. But in terms of user friendliness, it's some of the stuff you're doing from a command line prompt. So it's kind of, I'd put it in the category of a hobbyist type of thing. So if you're if you're into kind of the hobby and keeping things working, great. But if you're just saying to yourself, well, I really don't want to be bothered too much, and that you have to compare. Do I buy a new computer for $300, or do I take this old computer, put Linux on it, and maybe struggle through trying to? Maybe it doesn't work with my printer because there's no printer driver for it. Uh, things like that. You can run into stuff like that as a hobby, or if you have uh, sons or daughters, it'd be great to let them experiment with it, load Linux, try different things and stuff like that. Because there's no cost, and obviously the CPU and the hard drive and everything on the computer is working there. And oh, I guess you asked, is it a complex or time consuming or that? Not really, if you know how to do certain things. So uh, what you usually do, I'll give the quick explanation. Linux, since it's a full operating system, usually what you do is you have a flash drive. And depending on the version of Linux that you want, has to be at least a certain size flash drive. That'll create a bootable copy of Linux. Uh, and so that may take 20 minutes, let's say, to download it and set up the flash drive. You then take that flash drive, plug it into your laptop or your desktop, boot the computer. The computer boots with this. It reformats the hard drive. It wipes out everything on the hard drive and stuff like that. Loads the Linux operating system. And then it's like starting with a brand new computer. You have your basic packages are out there, but if you want the Chrome browser, you go out to the Chrome website, download that Chrome browser, and you're starting to use it within an hour. Within an hour, you've loaded the operating system, you've created the image, and you've got things working there. Now that's if everything works okay. If things don't work okay, some laptops, some desktops, uh, if you're kind of a techie like me, you may be familiar with BIOS. Well, the BIOS are the basic input output operating system that's not on your hard drive, it's on a chip in your computer, whether it's your laptop or your desktop. Well, if your BIOS is not set to check for a thumb drive out there to load an operating system from a thumb drive, you have to go in and change that. That's usually done by holding down an F1 key when you turn the power on to your computer, and then you can say, as part of your boot procedure, go and check a flash drive to see if there's an operating system to load. So that's where you have to be willing to maybe do a little research if your machine is set up a little bit differently, or you have some difficulties and setting it up there. Okay. Any other?
Okay, thanks. It's something I might want to try. Thank you.
It's like I say, it's a kind of a good hobby if you were in there. Would I recommend somebody start doing stuff with it? No. In my particular case, where I was taking some laptops, several laptops that people had, this is from Windows 8. Their machine was so underpowered and limited, couldn't be upgraded to Windows 10. It was a case of taking several Windows 8 machines, putting Linux on, and Linux worked perfect on those machines. But then I was the one that was supporting it, and if they had a question or that, they weren't having to learn the ins and outs of Linux or anything. Okay. Any last question or comment?
Well, I'm just curious, Tom,
Sure.
about the Motorola smartphone. What operating system does it use?
Uh, Motorola is using Android, but a lot of the vendors, be it Motorola or Samsung, add their own little flavor to it, whether it's just something as simple as a startup screen or a couple of utilities. They're based off of Android versions, so Android version 13, 14, or 15 there.
Okay, all right. I just asked because I think our first smartphone a long time ago was an LG, and they had their own operating system, and just wonder how many had gone to Android now. Probably most of them.
Yeah, most everything out there, well, Android's the most popular in the world than Apple, but in the United States, Apple is more popular than Android. So Apple probably controls 60% of the cell phone market, and Android, everything else, Samsung, Motorola, LG, all the other ones have 40 some percent there. Uh, so that's kind of what you had.
Okay, thanks.
Now, I suppose everybody out there, since we're talking smartphones, by a show of hands, how many people have signed up for the new Trump Mobile? No, I don't think we're going to have too many people sign up there, but yeah, that's kind of a.
What? I never even heard of that.
It came out several days ago, so
Oh,
just like the
oh,
Trump cryptocurrency,
oh, golly.
you can sign up for Trump Mobile, and the Trump Mobile you can get your phone for 499, but the monthly fee is, what is it, 47.45 to match the deal there. And they
Uh,
claim that the phone is made in the United States, and it can't be made in the United States because
yeah,
we don't make the chips and that to do
exactly. Okay. Well, uh, not for me.
So I'm not
Thanks.
recommending
No, no,
that
no.
the Trump phone there, but there are certainly good phones out here, and depending on what your needs are, if everybody in the family has an iPhone, certainly buy an iPhone and stuff like that. But we do have all these choices at all these different price points, and you can do a lot with just a little bit of money there.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Any last question? Okay, well, thanks for joining. Again, our next one will be in July, but before then, I'll send out the sign up for the celebration. So look for that maybe the 1st of July or towards the end of this month. We'll talk to you later then. Thanks for joining.
Okay, yep, thanks for the presentation.
Well,
Thanks, Doug.
have a good day. Bye.